Hello and welcome. I'm Jenny Hall. Thanks for joining me today. I'd like to share a fun scrapbook page that I created for my kids' first day back to school. I'm using some fun alphabet dies and stamps that will help me spell out the word school, and I'll even be adding some stitching with my sewing machine to the page base. This is an interesting stamp and die combination in the way that the letter is not cut completely away from the cardstock. Instead, it stays as part of a length of paper. So I'll start off by first stamping the letter, and then I will secure the letter die over it in place. That way I know the letter will not move. Now this interesting frame is attached to the letter die. One end is a square and the other end is rounded. I'm going to secure that on the right hand side where the paper will actually be cut away, not where the paper will be cut towards the left. I carefully put this in the Big Shot die cutting machine to where the edges of the die are not going to get caught on the machine, and one pass through the Big Shot is enough to be able to cut this out. I cut my paper 2 inches tall by 4.5 inches length, and that way all of the letters that I create are going to be exactly the same piece of paper. 3 different cardstocks I'm using are Whisper White, Sahara Sand, and Gray Granite. The page base that I've chosen to use has a lot of the gray tones, and then my children's pants and shorts have the different khaki brown colors. So I thought this neutrals color palette would work out very nicely and work with some nice pops of color as well. With all of these panels being exactly the same size, I can line them up on the back of a piece of gray granite cardstock, and now I have a fun and interesting way to spell out school. The photographs are attached down to this base, and now I will start adding some stitching to the actual page base that's created with a piece of 12 by 12 designer series paper. I'm going to add some stitching to the paper here with my sewing machine. I have a standard sewing machine, or this is particularly a quilter's sewing machine because I like to quilt as well. So it has a lot of settings, has a lot of the feet, and a lot of, I've got like a piece of tape here on my sewing machine so that I can line up straight. This is what I'm stitching my 1/4 inch seams. So this little piece of painter's tape is here for that reason. It also helps me to guide my paper. So that's one little thing that might be able to help you. The foot I'm using on my sewing machine is a standard foot. If I were using the foot that has the little edge in order to get me a nice seam, then I wouldn't be able to move the paper around. So this is just a standard foot. And I have some white thread that's in my machine. So this piece of designer series paper is gray with tiny white stars. And the one thing about adding stitching to my scrapbook base page is that it's just gonna be for decoration and for fun. So that takes a lot of the stress away from trying to get things perfect. With quilting, things need to be perfect. But with scrapbooking, sometimes letting go can bring a better outcome. So let's get started. I'm going to start just off of the page, and I'll first go around the perimeter of my 12 inch by 12 inch paper with a straight line, or as straight as I can get a piece of paper. And then I'll go back with a very wobbly seam to go around. So I'm going to hold my thread ends so that they don't go a little crazy on me. And if you're familiar with sewing, then you'll understand these. But if you're not, then maybe you should familiarize your machine before you start a project. So I'm applying just a regular, nice, easy pressure. If I go too fast, things could go a little crazy. And I can slow down. I can see one of my lamps is in the way. And then when I turn corners, I like to make needle down. So my needle will stay in place. Not every machine's going to do this, but this is just one little thing that I like in my machine that is customized. I'm not sure if how well you can see the stitching so far, but it's looking really fun. So I'm going to go at a little bit of a faster pace and speed up the video in order to get around all of the sides, and then we'll do the wonky stitches. So now I have an even amount of straight stitching around the outside of the paper. I'm going to now kind of move the paper as it goes through the machine, and that way it's going to give me a look of a kind of a wobbly, scribbly line. So I'll just turn the paper, go about 1/8 of an inch on either side, and let the paper kind of wobble around. And that's going to give me some interest. Another idea is that you can do this with absolutely no thread in your machine and just punch to where you can see that needle punch right through your paper. That's another fun idea, especially on dark cardstock. Now I'm finished with my stitching. I can just stitch right off of the page in order to secure some thread tails. Or this is where you could just take it out. So I'm going to continue stitching off the page. And then cut my threads. And what I have is this fun look of stitching. Get a close look at it. And it has that nice wobbly edge. So let's get on with the project. All along the edge you'll see the stitch marks, and it's not going to show up terribly on the front, but it will be enough when it catches the eye and you touch it with a finger. It's a really nice texture. I'm attaching that panel that I created with the letters to another piece of DSP from the same package, which is Festive Farmhouse. And now I'm playing with the colors that are away from the neutral color palette. I'm going to add some really bright black images from Enjoy Life stamp set, and that will bring some of the theme that I'm trying to carry through for my kids. The sentiment says, wake up, kick butt, repeat. So I thought that would be really encouraging for a back to school type of page. So I am using another piece of the Festive Farmhouse, and this piece looks like wood, and because of the lines, it's really going to assist me in my journaling. So I thought it would be a very interesting way to add journaling to my project. I'm using one of Stampin' Up's black journaling pens to add my message, and I will record the date and my children's age and where they're attending school. This was a really fun project to put together. It could be made with any kind of a color palette and paper, and change up everything and change the words up. It was just really a lot of fun to create. All of the products that I used are available today in my online store. You can get to my online store by going to my blog at jennyhalldesign.com and click on Shop Now. Thank you so much for joining me for this project. I hope you enjoyed it and will come back again soon. Please hit the subscribe button and give me a thumbs up. See you next time.
Thanks for watching the video. Have a good day.